Sukuna the Fraudulent One has to win this battle, and today I'll be explaining 4 insane theories on how he will actually win this, and they're all very likely to come true. Going over his ancient weapons like the Vajra, the final totality of the 10 shadows, and maybe even the Gashido Kuru's skeleton that's in his domain. There are some wild ways that Sukuna can actually come out on top of this, and yes, even though I do want Gojo to win, right, he's my GOAT, I glaze him a lot. Like I said before, Yuji needs to get that fight, it's just Yuji, right, he's the MC, and I really do think Sukuna will come out on top of this somehow. Whether it's Yorozu's gift, the 10 shadows, Kenjaku, his own shrine abilities, his previous weapons, there's just so much to get into. So trust me, you definitely don't want to miss this one, especially if you're a Sukuna fan or if you're curious about what's going to happen next chapter. And hey, be sure to do your boy a solid and leave a like, it does help out. And of course, subscribe for a ton of JJK content on the channel. I've got a ton of crazy theories like this, spoiler videos, what ifs, reviews, and of course live streams too, talking about chapters. So if you love JJK, you won't regret it. And of course, thank you to the honored one and special members of the channel, it's Kaisen and that guy Trip. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the most, I don't want to say boring theories, but let's just say lackluster compared to the ones that are coming next in the video. And as I go over the theories, they will actually be getting crazier and crazier. So the first theory, it's very simple, and a lot of people aren't going to like this one, so it's the one I'm going to say first. It's just Kenjaku is going to save Sukuna. Now this makes sense since Kenjaku doesn't want Sukuna to lose, as if he loses, you know, Gojo is just going to kill him, he will one-shot him, it is what it is. He said it himself. In his own words, he actually just stuck around Sukuna for the past month as well because he was worried Gojo would just find him and end him. So if this being the case, maybe he'll utilize Tengen, who he has now, and Tengen is very powerful, or he'll just use one of his Shikigami to maybe heal him, or maybe he'll absorb Sukuna, right? I've made a whole different video on that. I know a lot of people think it's not possible, it's definitely possible, and if you're curious about that, just check out the video I've made in the past. Won't be going over it here, it's just too much to explain in a short time. And yeah, I mean, this would be pretty cool. I actually think Kenjaku is the true villain, not that Sukuna isn't the true villain, but I just think Kenjaku is the main one. He's been around since really the beginning, just like Sukuna, but he's planning everything from the shadows. Every single event that has happened in JJK has been because of him, even going down to the MC being born. He has planned it all, orchestrated it all, and everything's going along to his whims, and it wouldn't surprise me if Gojo vs Sukuna just goes as he wants as well. Though I imagine a lot of people will be upset because of this, so maybe Yuji wouldn't get his fight, or I guess maybe he'd fight like this zombified, brainwashed version of Sukuna, which still would suck even for Yuji fans. Gojo fans wouldn't like it because they'd missed out on the win. I guess maybe they'd mock Sukuna, I know I would. Sukuna fans wouldn't like it because, you know, obviously he just got Mahito, that isn't great, and it'd be very disrespectful to Sukuna. So just overall, even though it'd make a lot of sense, it wouldn't be like Kaguya from Naruto, because unlike that, Kenjaku has been around since the beginning. He is actually the one behind everything, and he's just the true villain. Like, he has actually been here from day one. It's not like Kaguya who just comes in last minute and takes out Mother. Alright, so the next theory, which is a bit more interesting than the previous one, is the shrine theory, and I know Sukuna fans are really gonna like this one. Now, we don't really know what his shrine is, and if you're curious, basically shrine is the box. In the English translation, it's literally just a black box, and then he says open. That's his shrine. Now, we don't actually know if the Cleaviness Mantle is a part of the shrine. We know the domain expansion is called Malevolent Shrine, but as for the technique, he doesn't actually say shrine open. He doesn't say the box whenever he uses Cleaviness Mantle. Now, it could be because Cleaviness Mantle has already been opened by default, or maybe it's that shrine is actually just a whole different technique. Now, I've made a bunch of theory videos and theory threads on Twitter about this in the past. Maybe shrine is actually his brother's technique, or maybe the Cleaviness Mantle is his brother's technique, and when he ate him in the womb, or maybe when he ate him in later life, right, and that's how he got his curse technique, just like how twins are treated as one, so it may have been this loophole how he would have gotten his powers, or maybe it would have awakened his true power, because we know the Ryomen Sukuna in the real world, who was a real figure, granted a sort of mythical one, was actually a conjoined twin. If you search up the real Ryomen Sukuna, he is a conjoined twin. You can see it's a person with 2 heads, and other various forms of fiction and video games and books actually describe Sukuna as a person with 2 heads and maybe 4 arms or 6 arms, such like that, right, because he's a curse. So the point being is that the shrine is actually going to be the thing that bypasses the limitless, and why he hasn't done this before, there's a lot of different reasons why. One is that he doesn't want to reveal his shrine for the rest of the students because it's not good if they have the knowledge on it, because maybe they can counter it, though I don't really think this is too great of a reason, because it doesn't matter if the students know what shrine is, they're not being Sukuna. You could have all of them go at Sukuna at once, they're not being him, or I guess maybe he's actually just planning for ahead because he knows he's going to be injured after the Gojo vs Sukuna fight, and he doesn't want him to have knowledge on his best techniques. If that's the case, it would make Sukuna look really good, not any less fraudulent, though I will say it really will help his PR, but that's only if that's the reason why. If the reason is he has a big drawback or something along those lines, then he's definitely still fraudulent, but I don't know why I'm talking about fraudulent stuff, right? This isn't a Sukuna's a fraud video. I don't want to attack. I know, especially since Sukuna fans are watching this, alright? I don't want to diss your boy, even though I do think he's a bit fraudulent, but that's neither here nor there. Alright, let's just get back into the video. Now, whatever shrine could be, it could be, you know, a place where he stores curse techniques from the curse realm, because we know that, at least in GEGE's previous manga called Number 9, the MC of that manga, actually his ability is called Shrine. He literally opens a black box, he says Shrine, and he actually summons weapons out of it. So maybe Sukuna's technique, again, he can open other curse techniques, so like we saw the fire that he summoned, he used it like an arrow, like a weapon, so maybe he'll have like an electric shield, or a poison sword, or something along those lines. Or maybe it's really just a bunch of other curse techniques. Or maybe it really is just a regular storage and he can store curse techniques but with some conditions, so it's not like he copies them, but he's accessing other people's curse techniques via the curse realm that he's made a contract. So maybe the fire is actually Urume's curse technique reversed, and specifically not a reversal of an application of a technique like Gojo does, but a reversal of the concept, like how Kenjaku does, because there's a different type of curse technique reversal. So he's not reversing the ice techniques, but the very concept of ice itself to make fire. Again, like Kenjaku, not like Gojo. And it'd be really cool if he pulls it out. I mean, we've been wanting to know just what this is for years, right? Since we saw him use it in Shibuya, there's been crazy theories about it, so it'd just be amazing to finally get an answer on that. The next theory is one that I really like because it's about one of my favorite characters in all Jujutsu Kaisen, and someone that's probably the most disliked character at the same time by the fanbase. It is about Yorozu and the gift that she left. Now, this could be just a plethora of things, because we actually see that she is physically making something, right? She is forming something, and if you zoom in close, it seems like it's also pretty long, right? And she even says that, here, take this, think of it as me, and always cherish it. And it's pretty interesting that maybe this is Sukuna's previous weapon in the past, since we know Yorozu was around for a while in the Heian era, and she has encountered Sukuna multiple times in the past too. So if it is Sukuna's previous weapons that we saw on the cover page, so either the big spear that he has or the Vajra, the second spear that he has, Yorozu is the one who can make it. And think about this, Mai, who was like a grade 3 or 2, I think she was grade 3 sorcerer, even though she was on death's door and didn't have that much life in her left, she put what she had remaining into making a special grade weapon that even the narrator herself has actually said that it has the ability to bypass all durability. It is pretty busted OP, and it can even affect the souls of things, the soul kata katana that Maki has. And what's interesting is that when Mai made this weapon, her soul is actually in the weapon, so whenever someone uses the sword, you actually speak to Mai. So we saw that Daido, the katana guy, was even speaking to Mai when he held the weapon, and Maki, we saw many times she is speaking directly to Mai in her own innate domain, or it's possible that it's the sword's innate domain. It's really hard to tell since they're both twins and they probably share a similar innate domain, or at least a similar looking one, and Mai was able to talk to Maki that way even after she had passed. So what I'm saying is it's possible that Yorozu, who's special grade level, could easily make these super special grade weapons, and on top of that she might actually place her soul into it, so we might be getting a lot more Yorozu, right? If Sukuna ever uses the weapons, he might actually be talking to Yorozu, and maybe that's actually why he hasn't used them so far, because he finds it annoying, and that would be a very funny reason why. And personally, again, as a Yorozu fan, I would love it a lot, though I know a lot of people wouldn't like it since they don't like Yorozu. But yeah, it would give a good reason why he hasn't used it yet, and it would be very powerful since we know in lore Sukuna's weapons, well, I guess not in the story's lore, but in mythology lore, since we know the Vajra is actually one of Indra's weapons, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a lightning based weapon, and it is very, very powerful, and that's just the smaller weapon. Who knows if she made both of the weapons for him, so the big spear included, though I really hope it's the Vajra, because, you know, because I'm actually a big fan of the Mahabharata, and sorry if I mispronounced the name, and you know, all the theories that tie that alongside JJK and the parallels between them, I love that a lot. So if it ends up being the Vajra, that would just be really cool, and you know, maybe we'd see Kashima pull out the Wasabi Shakti, that would be awesome. And now for the final theory, and my favorite one, the 10 Shadows theory. And now think about this, it is possible that if all 10 Shikigami perish, it can create either two things. The first one is a new 11th Shikigami that is a totality with all of the powers of the previous one, and there's a reason why no one, not even Sukuna, Megumi, or Gojo would know this, because think about it, it's said in lore that no one throughout all of Zenin history has tamed Mahoraga. That has never been done before, even though I think that's dubious, and I actually think it has been done at least once before, but that's neither here nor there, and that's just a theory of mine, it's not confirmed, but at the very least in lore it's never been done before. Now think about this, if that's the case and no one's ever tamed all 10, right, then that means no one's ever seen what happens if all 10 perish or die. So really this is just completely uncharted territory. No one in Zenin or even JJK history would know what comes next. It could create a new Shikigami, it could create a new power up, it could create or maybe even a whole new set of Shikigami. Really anything is possible at this point, and maybe this is the true potential of the 10 Shadows. And if it is, keep in mind the 10 Shadows was said to be a technique just of the original 10 to rival the 6 Eyes and Limitless. If the 10 Shadows is anything more than what's already said, it is undoubtedly the greatest technique in JJK. So like I said, the first thing would be a completely new Shikigami with all powers of all 10 Shikigami. That would be just really dope. The second possibility of the 3, and yes there were 3, I actually forgot one, is if all 10 of the powers actually go to Sukuna. So we saw that the Max Elephant's water went to Sukuna. Now we don't know if the Max Elephant has been destroyed before, if it's still here, right? So maybe it's not been destroyed and that's how Sukuna's using its power, but it's very possible that the reason Sukuna's using its power, or he can't even use it, is because it's been destroyed before. What it's like is that the caster or the summoner of the 10 Shadows is the final totality. So just put whatever theory I had before, and instead of putting it into a final Shikigami, just give it to the user, and this would be so powerful because this means that Sukuna can, one, use reverse curse technique very casually without a heavy cost at all, and it would be technique based too. So this would actually solve the reverse curse technique issue that Sukuna has right now. He just used the Round Ear's ability, heal himself himself at a low cost very easily, very quickly, and there we go. And it would mean he would get Mahoraga's invulnerability and ability to adapt to everything. He would get Nue's lightning. We've already seen he's got the Max Elephant's water. He would get whatever abilities the tiger had and every other ability of the 10 shadows. Let's say the bull's power where his attacks increase if he attacks in a straight line, and the snake's power as well. Yeah, I mean, Sukuna would really just be unstoppable because now all of it not only goes to his base, it's possible that if he's the final totality Sukuna himself, he might be able to now access the rest of his abilities, let's say Shrine and all that, while using the 10 shadows abilities, because right now he actually can't use, in case you haven't noticed, Shrine, Cleaveness Mantle, and the rest of his abilities because you can only have one technique active at once. But if all the techniques go into his base and they just become part of his base naturally, maybe that could be a sort of loophole where he's not really using the 10 shadows even though he's using it, and it's just a passive ability now. So not only is he super broken and pretty much a god of the 10 shadows, all the abilities in him, he'd now be able to use Cleaveness Mantle too. Yeah, if this is the case, Sukuna is a monster. I don't know. Who's stopping a beast like that? Because whether it's fraudulent or not, and I think it's very fraudulent, he's just got one of the strongest techniques in the verse now in his base. Who can beat that? And the final theory of the 10 shadows, and I really love this one, the Gashado Kuru, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the final skeleton that is in Megami's domain. So when Megami actually used his domain against Reggie in the Cullen game, we see that there's a skeleton spine in the background, and this is a theory that has been going on since we've seen that spine, right? Where maybe Megami can summon the Gashodo Kuru. It is a yokai massive skeleton that's at least 10 meters tall, usually taller, that interestingly enough is made up of the skulls of the people who died in the battlefield. So it's possible that to actually awaken this final Shikigami that has never been done in history, all the previous Shikigami need to perish or be destroyed. And it would actually make sense in its own lore why this is the case, because the skeleton itself is actually made up of the skulls of the ones who have died. The abilities or powers, or I guess in quote skulls of the 10 shadows that have all perished, all 10 of them, that is what would make up this final Shikigami. And finally, the ancient theory of the Gashodo Kuro would become true, and it would be really cool to see since everyone's been wanting to see it, right? I mean, who doesn't want to see a really cool yokai skeleton? I'm sure if GEGE drew this, it would be really, really awesome. And in lore, when the Gashodo Kuru approaches, it's said to make a clattering sound with its teeth that goes like gachi gachi, and it's also known to be stealthy as well when approaching humans that they wish to eat. And shout out Wikipedia for all this information too. And here's the craziest part, the Gashodo Kuru are said to possess powers of invisibility and indestructibility since it's comprised of bones of the people who are already deceased. Those Shinto charms are said to ward them off, and that's very interesting. But yeah, invisibility is one thing, but indestructibility, that's pretty interesting. So maybe it's gonna get Mahoraga's power of indestructibility and adaptability, and you know, and maybe the Gashodo Kuru is gonna be the one that has all the powers, and maybe that's the final totality. But yeah, it would be really cool if this is the case. I love this theory the most, and I really, really hope it becomes true. But out of all the theories that I've said, which one do you think is gonna come true, or do you have a theory of your own? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and of course leave a like if you did enjoy the video. It does help out a lot. Thank you very much if you do. Of course, subscribe for a ton of JJK content just like this, crazy theories like this, spoiler videos about leaks when they come out, power scaling analysis, and a whole bunch of JJK content. So if you love JJK, trust me, you will not regret subscribing. And of course, thank you to all the members of the channel. Thank you guys very much. I really do appreciate it. And that's all. Have a great day and take care.